Hello and welcome to I24 News Sports World Cup Show, covering every aspect of the tournament in Brazil. Day 4 is behind us, Day 5 is ahead, and joining me here, as always, is our football expert, Motele Spiegler. Hi, Motele. Thank you for being here.
Fine. Thank you.
So, France and Argentina won their games. Germany and Portugal will face off tonight. All that and more coming up. Let's get rolling. Group E got underway last night, and judging by what we have seen, maybe we should take another team into consideration when we speak of the favorites to win. France put on an impressive show, beating Honduras 3-0. Karim Benzema scored twice for the tricolor, and for the first time, goal line technology was implemented, allowing a French goal as the ball barely crossed the line. In the other match, Switzerland scored a stoppage time winner to beat Ecuador 2-1. The two European teams will face each other in the next match, which will probably decide who will finish first in the group. Motele, France, very, very impressive. Is it only because Honduras was the rival, or they're just simply very strong?
It was a hard game, to be honest. It was a tough game. Honduras played very good in defense, and it took some time until France could break. But France is a very balanced team. Very strong defense, clever midfield, and up front, Benzema in his best form.
You mentioned Benzema. You know, a lot of people said about the stars coming off the European season, the Spanish season. They said, well, our stars are tired. Well, Karim Benzema, he played the whole season with Real Madrid. He was present at the Champions League final only 2 weeks ago. He looked very fresh last night.
Listen, he saw Spain collapsing against Holland, his teammates from Real Madrid, but he was fresh. His team around him is very good. He's well surrounded. And without Ribéry, without big players, he is at the first time at the front, and he took leadership, and he showed us how calm he can be, how clever and how decisive. He's a great player, and France can be proud of such a striker, and they are very good behind. So I can take them and Switzerland as the two teams from that group going further.
You mentioned Switzerland. They're not very good, but they're very disciplined. They do what they have to do. They don't get panicked when they concede an early goal, and they're there always to. No, we saw that last night. They scored that stoppage time winner, and they could have scored more.
Well, very hard, very tough to come back when you are 1-0 down. But when you watch on the bench, Mr. Hitzfeld, very calm. And the players got the inspiration from him, and both scorers are players who came from the bench.
He knew what substitutes to
So
do.
sometimes you play with the first best 11, but at the end of the day, it is the team who is finishing the game which make the result. So Switzerland with France, they are the favorites to go further.
And as we said, these two teams will meet off in the next match on Friday. And now to Group F, and as expected, Argentina got the opening game winner, but it was far from impressive. The Albiceleste won 2-1. The Bosnians scored a very early own goal, and Messi provided one of his magical moments in the second half. But that was pretty much all we have seen from Argentina. Enough to win this time. Not sure it will do the work against stronger teams. The other match in the group will be played tonight in Curitiba. Nigeria will face Iran. The Islamic Republic is usually in the international headlines for other reasons. This time they will try to prove Iran is a big player also in the world of football. Merav Savir with a story.
They are by no means the bookies' favorite. Placed in a group with Argentina, Nigeria, and Bosnia, who all have household name talents. But if the Iranians play their cards right, they could find themselves spending more time in Brazil. It is the Islamic Republic's fourth trip to the World Cup and the first time back since 2006, where they managed to score just 1 point in a draw against Angola. Iran doesn't have many homegrown football talents and are ranked 37th by FIFA. But they do have some known players from around European leagues, such as Dutch-Iranian Reza Gujanejad, known as Gucci, and Fulham's Iranian-German midfielder Ashkan Dejaga. Aside from those few select, most of their players play in the country's weak national league. But the Meli do have a bright spot. They are headed by ex-manager of Real Madrid and ex-assistant manager at Manchester United, Carlos Queiroz, who knows his task is a tough one and says he isn't ready to predict what will happen when the ball hits the ground.
My job is not to make predictions. It is to work hard and try to have my players very well prepared and my team very well prepared, and then play. That's the only prediction I can make. It is I am trying to do my best to help the players to have the best preparation.
The team's first game on Monday versus Nigeria is a good chance to start the tournament on the right foot before facing power Argentina.
I think we're really progressing towards that first game against Nigeria. I think it's going to be a tough battle. If you can start off the World Cup off right and get the win, I think you have a good chance to get into the next round.
Unlike many of the contestants in the World Cup, Iran isn't a nation overwhelmed by the love of football. Rather, it is a country where political strife and nuclear discussions top the headlines. And players hope they can use the game and the team to show a different image of Iran.
Showing our quality in the World Cup, because that's like a window of all the world, all the countries can see it. So we're gonna be our best and get the result in the World Cup.
Iran has an overall cup record of 1 win, 2 draws and 6 losses. The one victory was recorded in 1998 when they beat the, quote, Great Satan, United States and France. And this time around, they hope to add to their W column.
Now we move to the action coming up tonight, and Group G will get underway in Salvador with a very exciting match. Cristiano Ronaldo is said to be 100% fit for Portugal's clash with Germany in Salvador, two teams that have the potential to go very far in this tournament. But don't count out the other two teams here. The US and Ghana will face off later in the northeast city of Natal. Ghana was on the verge of making it to the semis 4 years ago in South Africa, and the big question is if an American success could finally give football, or soccer as they call it in North America, the boost it needs to become one of America's favorite sports.
USA! USA! Loud chants and red, white and blue faces. USA! It's a regular Sunday game in LA, and football or soccer fans are out in force.
Soccer awareness is much higher and it's becoming a little bit more popular. It's not a top 4 sport yet, like all the others, but it's becoming better and better.
The USA took on Mexico in this Legends Cup game, which featured former national team players on both sides. With some 10,000 fans cheering from the stands, Captain Eric Wijnaldum says the sport is more popular than ever.
Now it is. I missed it by 20 years.
Wijnaldum was part of the American team at the '94 World Cup, hosted by the United States. The successful tournament eventually led to the creation of Major League Soccer, America's professional football league.
Does very well in the Pacific Northwest. It has some success here in Los Angeles. It has some success in New York City. And obviously there's a tremendous amount of excitement about the new New York City team. But it is not a major sport yet. And it is not a major sport in part because it has to compete with the Premier League and the Champions League that puts on some of the best soccer in the world.
That's it, USA, #1.
It may have evolved over the years, but U.S. football is still mostly considered a pastime or game, rather than a competitive sport. That's what training centers like this one are working to change. To improve the professional game, players have to start at an early age. And with 4 million registered footballers today, 3 times as many as 1994, prospects have certainly improved.
Diamond, there we go, I want to see this.
But they remain far behind other American favorites.
The problem is retaining these kids as they get older. They shift over to football, they shift over to basketball. So while it's a great scene here, it's can we keep our best players going through the system as they become 13, 14, 15, 16.
How to shape, train, and keep the good players, that's the biggest problem facing the U.S. Soccer Federation. Strengthening the national team remains the ultimate goal, with the hopes of one day bringing the coveted World Cup home.
1, 2, 3, and we're joined now by Mark Lubetkin, an American soccer player from Montclair State University. Mark, thank you for being with us.
Of course, nice to see you.
Mark, can an American success in this World Cup make soccer as big as the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, or is it a lost cause?
I don't think it's a lost cause, but I do think that it's very difficult for soccer to surpass these 3 big American sports because it's just
in the kids level, in college level, it's a big thing. When you come onto the professional level, not so much.
Yes. Well, there's 2 reasons for that. Number one, Major League Soccer is competing against the major European and South American club teams. You have England, you have France, Holland, and it's tough for Americans to buy into the American style of play. And secondly, you have the youth club systems in America that are not nearly as big as you have in the European countries like England, France. So it's difficult for Americans to develop at the same rate and speed as these European players. So until that changes, it's going to be very tough for America to catch up.
Now, Motale, I want to ask you, the other match tonight, very big, Germany against Portugal. Portugal was obsessed with Ronaldo's injury. Of course, I mean, he's the player that took him there, that took Portugal here with that playoff win over Sweden. Can Portugal get very far? Can they go past Germany with just one big superstar that everyone depends on?
We start with the favorite. Germany, of course, is a favorite, a better team, a stronger team. But Ronaldo, when you mentioned the name Ronaldo, he already did everything. He can win a game alone. But now he's coming after an injury. And I doubt if he can do it alone. It will be a very tough game. But if Ronaldo will not be at his best, Germany will win without any doubt. If Ronaldo is as he was at the final against Atletico Madrid, then it will be an equal game, but still the favorites are Germany.
You mentioned Germany, the Mannschaft. This is a very different team than the one we've seen in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. They're not as winner character, but they're very, very offensive. Look at their players.
All games here are offensive. No game was a draw. Everyone comes here to score. We saw already 22 teams, only 3 didn't score a goal. So it's open football.
We saw zeros also.
We saw 37 goals. It's fantastic in 11 games. And of course the Mannschaft. Mannschaft means a team. Only with a team spirit you can win games, even in American sports.
Exactly.
Only in tennis you play alone, sometimes with somebody
Maybe
alongside.
Swimming.
Swimming, you are never alone.
and
somebody is behind you.
And I want to ask you, Mark, obviously Germany and Portugal, still with the injury of Ronaldo, Portugal and Germany favorite. Can the U.S. qualify from this team? Because it's also a very tough team. Ghana is also very good.
Of course, Ghana's knocked the United States out the last 2 prior World Cups. You know, it really depends on, can the United States come out of the first game against Ghana with a point? We cannot lose against Ghana, because then it puts us in a hole, and then you're going against one of the best players in the world in Cristiano Ronaldo, and then you're going against one of the powerhouses in Germany. So it's critical that the United States come out offensive and strong, and if they can come out of this game with a point, I think that there's a decent chance for the United States to qualify.
And we have to count how many supporters of Miami or San Antonio in the team.
Exactly. Though we will speak about that. It's not a coincidence that we mentioned the name Cristiano Ronaldo, the biggest star in Portugal. Germany, the US, and Ghana are trying to figure out how to stop this Portuguese superstar. That and more in Merav Savir's press review.
Everyone was waiting to see how Leo Messi will respond in his first game of the World Cup. Well, Argentinian media think it went pretty okay, saying it was a triumphant debut by him after they beat Bosnia 2-1 in the young nation's first World Cup match. It took a while for him to heat up, but as Clarín says, Messi finally remembered Messi and faced a maneuver with the seal. It was Messi everyone was finally waiting to break out against the newcomers, and the newspaper calls the victory a bittersweet one and says the team has to improve from there. Meanwhile, in Bosnia, Nevnija Vaz is talking about how even with the loss, the Dragons proved to the world that this team has a place in the World Cup, saying if there were a bit more luck, they could have easily won their points in the historic first game, referring to the own goal in the first 3 minutes of play. But the site says that even though they are sad their guys lost, there remains a sense of pride in their performance, and the hope of making it to the next round remains alive. And on to tonight's big battle. Two of the top teams of the tournament facing off in their first match of the games. In the German media, they say the team must demonstrate their competitiveness in the eyes of the world. And coach Joachim Low says it's important that everyone gives 100%. But according to the newspaper, even if they didn't win, the team will still accomplish something. Their 100th World Cup appearance, which is a world record. Host Brazil is a close second with 98. Meanwhile, in the Portuguese press, they're focusing on the Germans' need to pinpoint Ronaldo. According to Portuguese Record, the German Federation is using technology and joined forces with a company to create an innovative program that could provide analysis for Low and his coaches. And allegedly, the application has valuable information on all 3 teams the German face in the group stage. But at the end of the day, it's not the technology that will win the matches for the Germans, and it's sure to be a showdown in Salvador.
And now a small piece of non-World Cup news. The San Antonio Spurs won their 5th NBA championship after beating the Miami Heat last night, 104-87 in Game 5 of the NBA Finals, securing a 4-1 victory. This is a very sweet revenge by the Spurs, who lost the championship last season to the Heat. When we speak of the Spurs, we usually mention the big three, Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili, but Kawhi Leonard was chosen as the finals MVP after another huge game of 22 points and 10 rebounds. On the other side, LeBron James again was basically fighting by himself. He had 31 points, 10 boards, and 5 assists. Great numbers, but not enough against such a balanced team as the 2014 champions, the San Antonio Spurs. And that's it for us today. Motale and Mark, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yep. And we will be here again tomorrow to summarize another exciting night of World Cup. Have a beautiful day.